Hi, I'm John Tillema from TWTG and welcome at my talk today about industrial IoT sensors in practice. The title will be Asset Performance Management with Wireless Vibration Sensors, and it already gives it away. We are making a lot of sensors within TWTG, but today we're going to highlight vibration sensors. We only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to give you a really highlight of it. If you want to see more, come see me at the Real Things conference or just contact me in the end. My name is John Tillema, like I said. I'm CTO and co-founder of TWTG, and we're making industrialized sensors, only in LoRaWAN space, and are fully battery powered, ATEX and IEC-X certified for worldwide applications, especially in the oil and gas sphere. We make valve sensors, vibration sensors, but also temperature monitoring, all kinds of solutions. But like I said, today it's vibration day. And in this industrial sphere, we see a lot of things happening. Of course, industrial applications are not new, and oil and gas monitoring is also not new. But what we see that new is that there is a lot of new technology coming up. And while oil and gas industry might not be the fastest to pick those things up for obvious reasons, if we look at spheres like smart cities, industrial IoT or IoT in general has been around for a couple of years. And we see quite some good use cases floating around. And I think LoRaWAN is one of those enablers. But it can help an industrial site as well in order to monitor a lot of things that go either unmonitored right now or are monitored with intervals and go to continuous monitoring. And I think that's where we see a lot of added benefit. And like I said, why now? Well, LoRaWAN is a really big enabler of that. It's a nice technology that helps us get data remotely against really low cost. And I mean low cost in both proprietary protocols, but also low cost in energy costs. So that means that we can make battery devices that can last for 10 years. The infrastructure is pretty cheap because you don't need a lot of gateways, you don't need big wiring. It's basically a really nice and low barrier to entry for this kind of industrial applications. And of course you have to use it for purpose. We are not proposing that we're going to use LoRaWAN for remote controlling or switching on and off from motors or anything else. But if we use it for the right way to gather data, LoRaWAN can be an enormous new revolution for this type of markets. And collecting data is what we try to do. Not by itself, it's not the end goal, but if you use the data again to change business processes or rules on those terminals or refineries, things can really change. It can become a safer workplace, it can be more efficient, and what we're going to talk about, we can reduce unexpected downtime just by doing predictive maintenance and know what's happening on your terminal. In order to do so, we need people on those terminals, and today I'm happy to introduce to you Leo. Leo is a senior rotating engineer at Shell Pernis. Shell Pernis is one of the biggest European refineries. And as a senior rotating engineer, he and his team are responsible for everything that rotates, from pumps to motors. And in order to do so, he and his team are going out every month to do moment snapshots of those assets in the field and basically monitor them with a really big vibration monitoring appliance, measure that, monitor that. And from that point forward, actually make a decision if maintenance is needed or anything else. But that's just once a month. And sometimes something happens in between those months. And that's why we convinced Leo and his team to try something continuous. Of course, that was not easy. The industry has a lot of regulations, safety regulations, optimization to be done. And those terminals are not playgrounds. They are not open for newcomers or anybody else, and for really good reasons. It's a really dangerous environment if you don't know what you're doing. So he was a little bit skeptical. Actually, Leo was a big fan from day one, but you can imagine the questions being asked within Shell: why is this better than our current way of working? Who's going to look at the data points? Because now we have once a month, and now suddenly there will be 24 hours of data points. Who's going to do that? Are the devices certified? Also, who's going to install that and maintain it? And that's basically where we developed something together with Shell. We were doing vibration monitoring already, we were developing it, but Shell, as launching customer, were able to give us the final touch points to get to a sensor that would really work on their side. The vibration sensor consists of two items. The sensor itself, which is on a cable, so you can mount it really specifically, and the LoRaWAN transmitter. The transmitter works for 10 years, is fully certified, and the sensor has a really extended frequency range and works in 3 axes. The extended frequency range helps really to detect high frequency, maybe issues with lubrication all the way to misalignments and almost rocking that you can visually maybe even see that something might be off. In order to do so, Shell actually helped us and say, well, let's go and pilot these devices. Of course, they first need to be developed, tested in a lab environment, but after they were certified, the first test was 100 devices for 6 months at Shell Panis. And basically that was a shutdown period. We were locked out. Shell did it all by themselves because they were heavily compared with their normal operation. So a handheld device going into the field, hold the sensor on the same level, but then together with our sensor and see if the results were the same. And yes, they were. And that only shows that it's not rocket science at the end of the day. We didn't invent vibration sensoring. What we've shown is that we can make it reliable, continuous monitoring and battery powered in this environment for a really financial, attractive way. Which is basically everything that there is for them to want a sensor like this. The data here is shown is RMS velocity, which is the continuous monitoring. The data from our vibration sensor actually expanding in that direction, where we can even do full spectrum analytics FFT, where we cut those data sets up over multiple LoRa messages in order to have a full spectrum remote analytics, which is way too much to go into deep today, but I think it just shows that there is so much more able to do with LoRaWAN sensors than people think at first glance. At the end of the day, it brought benefits. Accuracy, it helped them get insight in the operational health of the device. They had data-driven decision-making processes. Predictive maintenance was really nice. They're able to predict when a device goes into scheduled maintenance instead of just doing it every 6 months, keeping it really high in cost. But bottom line, what really matters at Shell and other of this type of clients is safety. Sending somebody into the field in a dangerous environment just to take a measurement from a control perspective is always a risk. If we can reduce those risks just by having continuous monitoring and don't send that people out, but also if there is something wrong, you know it immediately, you don't see it once a month, it really helps to get to a zero incident site. And I think that's one of the main reasons why, in the end, Shell decided with us to roll out Shell Panis. We started off with 2,500 sensors that are installed at Shell Panis now, making it a really big, and not even really big, but basically world's best vibration monitored site worldwide. And that's not even only on LoRa, just on all way of vibration monitoring, having this one continuous monitored in real time. And so to say, it's only the beginning. Together with Shell, we're now making international LoRa plans. So you can imagine that working with a really big client of us, but together with we as a scale-up trying to work together was quite challenging. But it also shown that really big corporates are open for this type of things. They are open for innovative new solutions as long as it works and it proves really new business benefits and it's not only a gimmick. And I think together with Shell we've proven that vibration monitoring helped them create those benefits in the real world, which in the end resulted in a big rollout and making their site smarter and better. So this was in overview our small talk about vibration sensoring. If you want to know more in detail, come via me. We do a full talk on the conference. But if you're not there, please contact me through LinkedIn or other ways, and we're more than happy to explain more to you. Thanks very much.